Good evening and welcome. You're with News First, your number one news provider. I'm Shamir Rasooli.
And I'm Krishna Panditharatna. We start off the news with a look at your headlines first.
Sarath Fonseca acquitted of all charges in the High Court case. Colombo High Court judge says two cases cannot be filed on the same charge. Protests in Colombo against foreign forces. Professor Rajiv Vijayasinghe says Sri Lanka will show the UN Human Rights Council and the world that the national model is its approach to reconciliation.
The Colombo High Court acquitted former Army Commander Sarath Fonseca of all charges in the High Court case. The order was given when the case was taken up before High Court Judge Sunil Rajapaksa today.
In the case filed before the High Court, the former Army Commander was charged of criminal breach of trust when purchasing equipment for the military. Fonseca was named as the third accused in the case, while his son-in-law Dhanuku Tilakaratne was the first accused. The lawyer representing Sarath Fonseca, attorney-at-law Salya Piris, making preliminary objections, said a punishment has already been meted out for this charge when a court-martial heard the same case. Announcing the decision, High Court Judge Sunil Rajapaksa observed that based on the penal code and international law, the case could no longer be heard, as two cases cannot be filed against the same person on the same charge. He observed that the High Court case heard in the court-martial and the case filed in the High Court were one and the same.
They released me from the High Court drama and gave me a proper ruling. We respect that judge. It is proof that there is another judge with a backbone.
The preliminary objection was accepted. It is stated in sentence 314 in the penal code that a case cannot be filed twice for the same charge. Since the charges filed in the court-martial were similar to the charges filed in the High Court, we made a preliminary objection. The court accepted the preliminary objection. Therefore, General Sarath Fonseca has been acquitted of the charges in the High Court case.
It is truly a happy day for all of us. We had faith in the courts. Today, Judge Sunil Rajapaksa cemented that faith. I bow my head in respect to him and to the lawyers who spoke on behalf of us.
I think as Sri Lankans we should be happy today. The general public of this country can now have faith in the courts. All of us should bow our heads to such judges, and our country needs them today. Such judges are necessary to take the country forward. As Sri Lankans, we should all be happy on a day like today. Although Sarath Fonseca was acquitted from the High Court case, he is currently serving a 30-month prison sentence imposed by the court-martial. Meanwhile, the case filed against Sarath Fonseca, charging him of harboring army deserters, was taken up in the High Court today. Giving evidence during the hearing, Brigadier Ashoka Veerasinghe accepted that threats were levelled at Sarath Fonseca while he was serving as Army Commander and even while serving as a Chief of Defence Staff. The case will be taken up again tomorrow. Government parliamentarian Professor Rajiv Vijayasinghe says that Sri Lanka will be able to show the UN Human Rights Council and the world that the national model is its approach to reconciliation. He expressed this view during a right of reply address at the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva yesterday.
The government of Sri Lanka has before it crucially important tasks of ensuring national reconciliation and ending the decades-long impunity that permits grave human rights violations to continue to this day. The international community must provide Sri Lankan authorities with much-needed encouragement. This Council must demonstrate to Sri Lankan civil society that it will not abandon them.
Yesterday, Amnesty also released a report on various allegations that again was part of what I might call a bandwagon that is now being built up. But the really sad thing about that report, which I went through carefully yesterday, was that it dealt with a lot of very old cases and did not seem to justify the hype with which it was presented, suggesting that the situation in Sri Lanka is really appalling now. I think we are moving very well on the National Human Rights Action Plan, but it will take some time. I think the suggestion that we haven't done anything in the past is complete nonsense, but I do agree that we need to publicize this better, and I hope we will be able to show this chamber and indeed the world how model is our approach to reconciliation.
The International Buddhist Foundation is concerned about the unwarranted attacks on a Buddhist majority Sri Lanka. This small island has just come out of defeating a terrorist movement that was the most ruthless and barbaric terrorist group that was ever known to mankind. Sri Lanka should be congratulated and commended for the way it dealt with a massive humanitarian problem. Under accountability and reconciliation, the country is now hounded by some with hidden agendas. The biggest violators of human rights are gunning for Sri Lanka. We appeal to the Council to prevent the bullying of a small island.
A number of peace walks were held in Colombo today against foreign intervention in Sri Lanka. They had been organized by the National Organization to Protect the Country and the Nabaviyage Islamic Youth Organization. Letters were handed over to the officials of the American, German, Norwegian and Swiss embassies and the British High Commission.
The peace march organized by the National Organization to Protect the Country commenced from opposite Independence Square this morning. The participants first made their way to the Norwegian embassy, where they handed over a special letter. They then proceeded to the American embassy. Various forces have been formed to plunge this country into turmoil once again through international and local pressure. Through a resolution, America, which is a world power, attempted to interfere in our affairs. Don't do such things. We are an independent nation. Let us dispel the foreign forces which are attempting to destroy our country. We urge America to help us in this process. We need to remind the members of the Interpol and the imperialists that we will not allow room for people to vandalize our road to development. We will continue our struggle if this persists. Meanwhile, a peace walk organized by the Nabaviyage Islamic Youth Organization was held in the Bambalapiti area. Where was the Human Rights Commission 30 years ago? Thousands were killed. People were killed in mosques and people in the north were killed. Human rights defenders remained silent during that time. We need to ask whether human rights means allowing free rein for terrorists. As Muslims, we need to state that we will not let you interfere and destroy this country. We need to tell America that there are Muslims living here and that there is a peaceful atmosphere in the country. We call on the United States to withdraw the resolution they have brought forward. The marchers proceeded to the American embassy and handed over a special letter. There are thousands of Muslims living in Sri Lanka. They live in the country honoring human rights. Mahinda Rajapaksa, who is the head of state, is a good leader who respects all ethnicities. Meanwhile, a Hindu priest commenced a fast today at the Paliladi Sri Vigneshwaram Kovil against the foreign forces attempting to interfere in Sri Lanka's affairs. Venerable Shivathiru A. Yogaratnam is the Hindu priest engaging in this fast.
Acting Minister of Mass Media Lakshman Abhivardhana says that the government is prepared to face any outcome at the UN Human Rights Session in Geneva.
අපිට මේ ඡන්දය අවසන් වෙනකන් මේ ඡන්දේ අපිට ජයග්‍රහණයක් ලැබෙයිද එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි මේකෙන් පරාජය වේද කියලා අපිට කියන්න අමාරුයි.
Until this vote is over, we cannot say whether we will win or lose. There will be pressure until the last moment. As government, during yesterday's cabinet meeting, the president stated, we are prepared to face any outcome. We should be ready for it. We need to improve the livelihoods of the Tamil community in war-ravaged areas and we need to solve our issues.
යුද්ධයේදී පීඩාවට පත්වෙච්ච ප්‍රදේශවල ජනතාවගේ ජීවන තත්ත්වය කඩනමින් මීටත් වඩා මට්ටමින් අපි කරගෙන අපේ ප්‍රශ්න ටික අපි විසඳන එක.
A program was initiated yesterday to obtain signatures for a petition that seeks to achieve sustainable peace based on Sri Lanka's aspirations and its own process. The inauguration of the program took place at the Sri Lanka Foundation Institute.
A large gathering, including politicians and religious leaders, were present at the occasion to sign the online petition.
We appeal to the nations of the world to remember that Sri Lanka won a war against a ruthless, heartless terrorism only a couple of years ago. Our country and our people need a couple of years more to implement our homegrown program for peace and reconciliation. At this point, this country needs, above all, understanding, empathy, and goodwill. And we have reason to believe and hope that our appeal for understanding will not fall on deaf ears.
I cannot believe at this point in time that the international press is looking at Sri Lanka with judgmental eyes when so many other countries are at war. I'm shocked to learn that the international community believes that Tamils are mistreated. When Tamils live, work, and thrive happily within the city of Colombo, let the people of Sri Lanka speak. Not those who live in faceless crowds in the shelter of other countries. That's what cowards do. The war is over. Palatable peace is here. It is not a facade. It is real. Let it stay. Sri Lankans' intentions are pure. For if those atrocities happened anywhere else in the world, I assure you, it would not have taken 26 years for the war to end.